Thank you so much, Jana. She actually prepared all of those for the past days for you guys, because of course it will take longer to do all those live setups. That's why she prepared it for you guys, and she really made an effort. So let's give her all our love. Okay, so thank you, Jana. So now let's proceed to the question and answer. So if you have any questions, please do type them in the Q&A box or the chat box. Okay. Actually, we have a couple of questions now. Hi, Jana. What laptop do you use?
So I use a Razer Blade 15. This is a gaming laptop, and this is because I like the screen resolution and the quality when I edit, and even the heavy programs that I use for photo editing, it can take it. So yeah, that's why I upgraded to a Razer Blade 15.
Okay. Oh, we have a lot of questions coming in. Wait lang. Uh, wait. What uh, what camera do you use?
I use a Sony A9.
A Sony A9, okay. Paano maging screen ang camera?
Oh, do you mean to tether it to the laptop?
Ay, yeah.
You so bibili ka lang ng tethering wire, tapos you connect it to your camera and then sa USB cable ng laptop and it should show up there. You, of course, you have to download either Lightroom, Capture One, or your camera's remote application.
Okay. Do's and don'ts when adding some props in product photography, because sometimes I add too much.
That's actually a common problem. Even I do it sometimes, but what I learned is, for example, um, if you're shooting like adobo, you're only supposed to add what's relevant to it. So, syempre, you eat it with rice, diba? And then it has a bay leaf, pepper, salt, suka, and soy sauce. So, yung mga relevant lang to the dish you're shooting, that's what you add lang to the frame to avoid it becoming too crowded and parang irrelevant to it already. So, that's my tip for that.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Jana. Can I ask where you bought your risers?
Oh, the risers are locally sold by my friend from Sharpbox on Facebook, or you can message Kim Diaz.
Okay, nice. It's from Sharpbox, as she mentioned. So, Jana, can I ask where you brought, what strobes and tripod do you recommend?
So initially when I was transitioning to product photography, I made sure na the tripod I bought would have the overhead feature kasi I'll be taking a lot of flat lays. So I'm using a Manfrotto 055. And for the strobes, I recommend Godox because it's just easier to learn for me personally, and most of the stuff out there are compatible with it since it's a Bowens mount, and it's also priced at a fair price point. And the strobes I use are the Godox AD600.
Okay, nice. Well, we have a lot of questions. How do you make the most of food photography using a smartphone?
You know, for that, the photos I showed earlier, most of that was taken lang with my super old Android phone. And what I did is I just usually shoot it beside a window or outdoor para maliwanag. And if it's bright kasi, it's almost instantly, like if it's well lit, maganda na yung magiging look niya. Then you can have a lot of choices for editing it since maraming available apps for that as well. So yeah, shoot beside a window.
Okay. Um, do you have any tips on shooting fire or any fire resources like candles or incense?
Candles or incense. For that, I think mas better if you're going to shoot it in a not indoor siguro or dapat maraming space since it's gonna start like smelling tas may mga fumes yun. Baka better to shoot it outdoors. And maybe you don't need to use strobes for that since you're capturing naman the ambient light of the candle. So yeah.
I haven't tried shooting tethered. Is it plug and play for Lightroom, or do you have to set it up first?
Oh, you still have to set it up, but it's easy lang naman. There's a lot of tutorials on YouTube, and I really recommend you to shoot tethered kasi especially if you're a product photographer, this way you'll see the details more that you don't see on your camera screen.
Okay. We have a question here. Hi, Jana. Where can we buy the props that you used? But she answered this a while ago. It's from Sharpbox,
Yes, short
the
box.
riser. Sharpbox. Sharpbox. Okay.
Yes.
What is the overhead? What brand is the overhead tripod that you use, and how much is it?
It's a Manfrotto 055. It's a product and food photography tripod. And you can check Lazada. That's where I bought it.
Can you recommend a lens for an aspiring product photographer?
You can use a 35 mm or a 50 mm if you're on a budget. But for me, I really like using my macro lens, yung 100 mm.
Do you color calibrate your laptop screen?
I only did it once because the previous owner of the laptops was a gamer, so it was medj yellowy. So I had to color calibrate it once. Pero after that, no more na. And it seems fine naman.
Hi, Jana. What type of lights do you use when shooting? I think it's Godox, right? Tama ba? It's Godox?
Yes, Godox AD600 strobes.
Okay. Oh, there's so many questions. Wow, so many people. Actually, you have a praise here. So much information that I've known before, so helpful.
Thank you.
Is it better to use strobe or flash than continuous LED light?
Well, some shooters, they like to use continuous light for food. Okay lang yung continuous light kasi you're kind of mimicking natural light sa food photography na na commercial. But for product, I really recommend using your speed lights, your flash, or a strobe kasi there are some things you can't achieve with a continuous light. So if you're going to go into product photography, you should really get a strobe or flash speed lights.
What app in the phone can you use for editing? For editing.
Okay, so for mobile photography, I use Snapseed. Just that.
Miss Jana, can you give us an idea about pricing product shoots? As a photographer, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so
how much?
Well, usually kasi that's been kind of an issue right now, especially nung pandemic. There's a lot of people who are getting into product and food photography. And I can see that the rates are going lower and lower. So, recommendation ko for beginners is that you price it according to how difficult it is, like how you're shooting and what the stuff you're using. And syempre, personally, I price it per photo, like per piece, as in every photo. And that way, it's just easier for me to work on each and every single photo rather than taking so many photos na hindi naman kailangan or it's less effective. So price it per photo or per layout.
What for kit lens? If I have kit lens, what is the recommended aperture, shutter speed, and iOS? Would you recommend ISO? Would you recommend in general?
If you're shooting products or food, you want the subject to be in focus. So you can start siguro at f4, f4.0, and ako usually I shoot at f11 or f16 para sure ako sharp lahat nung nandun sa frame, within the frame. And for ISO, since I'm using strobes naman, I just keep it at ISO 100 unless kailangan ko talaga to make it brighter.
I'm starting in my product photography. I was thinking to buy a video light or a speed light like yours. What would you recommend between the two?
If you're gonna do product photography, go for the speed light. And if you want a brand talaga that'll be easy to use since you're a beginner, just go for Godox. And you can try out their AD series. And this is actually all in Lazada. And there's also some distributors locally. So just research about it, but get the speed light.
Can you recommend the best beginner artificial light to start with?
Best beginner artificial. If you have a speed light or a flash, those are usually cheap, mga 2,000 pesos up to 10K. Maganda na yun. And you can control this off camera with a trigger. And yun, usually you just get those small ones. Or you can get a Godox AD200. Wireless na yun. It's nice.
For food shots, example, cookies. If you have a client, do they usually provide the props like flour, chocolates, or coffee beans, or is it you who still do all the props?
Kasi I also style my shoots. I'm supposed to have my own props. Pero if ever may gusto sila that I don't have, edi I will ask them to provide it. And I state this in my contract with them. Like sabi ko, client has to provide props that is not available in my personal props library. So you can provide it if you have it, but if you don't, and you can let them buy it for you and bring it to the shoot.
Okay. Do you actually have a specific style? Like, do you have a niche sa pag-shoot ng concept that when they see your photos, they know that it's Jana? It's Jana's work. Kuha ni Jana to.
As of now, feeling ko I do have a style naman, but then I don't know. I wouldn't really know because sometimes it depends on your viewers kung gaano ka-effective yung shots mo. But I do tend to stick to clean and minimal looks for my photos.
Okay. Have you ever shot jewelry before? If you have, what tips can you tell us for
So
jewelry?
I've shot it a few times, and some are just for practice. It's one of the hardest things you can shoot as a product photographer, as in sobrang hirap and sobrang difficult that if you're going to be asked to shoot jewelry, you really have to price it properly because ikaw yung mahihirapan. And I suggest some YouTube channels for this. You can try watching their tutorials sa Photog and kay, where else ba? Basta, just check it out on YouTube and there's a lot of technicalities to this kasi. So all I can say is it's very difficult.
Do you have any essential additional equipments for beginners apart from tripod and diffusers that you can recommend?
Maybe you can invest on like yung illustration boards. Like since that has a black side and a white side, you can use both sides for example, yung black to give details into the photo, then yung white just to make everything more equally lit. And what else pa ba? Siguro invest in props that you'll need, pero the ones that will be versatile na you can use them over and over. And backdrops, I have two backdrops lang that are big, and I have a white one and a gray one. So just to be sure na meron akong base na backdrop, I invested in those. If you want a black one also, you can get a black one as well.
Wow, sobrang dami ng questions, actually. Some of the questions that are repeating, I try to skip muna. Unahin ko muna tong iba. How do you start a legit career in photography? Do you introduce yourself to brands?
I didn't do that because I'm actually really shy. So that's why I like shooting products, so I don't have to talk to so many people. But um, my tip is just to work on your portfolio. That's what I'm doing until now. It's an investment. It's the biggest investment that you can give for yourself. Mag-shoot ka lang na mag-shoot and ipunin mo the nice shots and launch your website or your online portfolio. And the brands will approach you. You don't have to approach them. But if that's your thing, okay lang naman also. Malay mo, you get gigs from this. But based on my experience, just invest on your portfolio and keep posting nice photos and the rest will follow.
So that's where do you usually get your clients now? It's the same. It's
Yeah,
sort
yeah.
of
Yeah, sort of the same. I just get them through social media. They message me or they approach me.
okay. Hi Jana. Aside from macro 2.8 lens you have mentioned, what else do you recommend?
Actually, I only have two lenses. I have a 35 mm na 1.4, and I can recommend naman also for you to use a 24 to 70 para you have a zoom lens in your lens library. Because if, kunwari, if you're shooting in a small space, at least you can zoom in and out. But usually, I just work between my 35 and my 100.
Um, Hi Jana. Can I ask how long have you been in the field of product photography?
Just a little over a year. Kasi I just graduated a few years ago and I used to work at events and mga advertising, and I used to assist with random like photographers that I like their work, so I assist for them, so I learn stuff. And I recently went freelance lang, so about a year or so.
These are two questions, pero they're similar. Is it possible to use mid-range Android phone? And what do you recommend? What phone would you recommend best for photography? Best
Yes.
phone?
My phone is 6 years old. The brand is OnePlus, and magandang camera niya, actually. And I just edited it on Snapseed. And most of the photos before sa Instagram ko, they were just taken with this phone. So get OnePlus.
Um, Tips for shooting during a gloomy day. Wow, without using complicated lighting setup.
Gloomy day. You can use a lamp if you have a lamp at home, or you can use your camera's flash. Lagay mo dun sa tapat nung i-shoot mo, and it should light it enough. And a flashlight could also be useful. Or if you want, kahit naman gloomy, if you go outside, it's still pretty, there's still a light source there. So mag-shoot ka na lang sa labas if you're going to shoot on a gloomy day.
How do you choose your backgrounds for your photos? And another, sort of related, how much research do you put into making the effects in your product photography?
Choose one. Oh, okay. So sometimes I mostly shoot everything on white. Tapos in-edit ko na lang sa Photoshop kung ano yung bagay na background. However, it's still trial and error. While shooting, I like to check rin sa laptop if it's okay. Like, if I took it as black background, parang pag hindi ko bet, I'll change it to white. It's trial and error. And what was the other question again?
How do you conceptualize for the shoot?
I check Pinterest, like before I shoot. And of course, the client will give me a shot list and I'll look for photos na similar doon yung style. And I will research on the internet and I'll watch tutorials on YouTube how to do this. And I'll check in the works of other photographers internationally and I'll base it off that. So parang ma-inspire lang just to check.
Uh, I'm not a professional photographer, and I recently discovered the importance of product photography. Do you have any tips for small business owners? How to maximize the camera in their phone apps to use?
Okay, so good lighting is always key to effective photos that are attractive to your possible customers. So to maximize this, you can shoot beside a window or shoot outside, and or just check sa house mo where you have available light, and you can even use tables or countertops as your backdrop. Hindi naman always flat lay yung shot, so if you want to make it a little bit more engaging or more three-dimensional, you can shoot it like eye level. So yeah, those are my tips. Just make the most of what you have at home. Kung ano-ano like props you have there, you'll be surprised that they could look nice sa photo.
Um, um, wow, I'm overwhelmed. There's so many questions. Have you tried shooting people?
Ah, yes, I was actually into fashion and portraiture before. Something funny is that I really didn't know how to shoot products at the start. And then I would avoid it kasi nahirapan talaga ako. And then one day, I had to learn it. And then I ended up liking it more than shooting people. So that's where I am now.
Yeah. What is the what are the terms and conditions that you usually put in your contracts, like the must-haves that you put in your contract, so as to prevent any disputes with the client?
Ah, of course. So ilalagay mo dyan, like, how many photos they will be receiving. And usually, humihingi sila ng raw photos, meaning lahat ng tinake mo gusto nila hingin. It's up to you kung gusto mo yan ibigay. However, there should be a different charge to this. Unless you included it in your package, okay lang naman. So you have to state if you're going to give all the raw photos and if how many yung edited photos na total na ibibigay mo. And also, the props thing, you have to state if manggagaling sa kanila yung props or if you will be the one to provide it or if magbibigay silang budget for it. And also, the payment terms. You can either ask for full payment or for 50-50 or no turnover of photos until they pay you para avoid natin to be scammed because it can happen talaga and you won't expect it at sometimes. So it's better to be safe, and there's also lots of online documents that you can research on similar contracts. So yeah.
Ito, similar. Is the rule of thirds and the golden ratio important in photography? In your product photography?
Actually, hindi ako masyadong technical eh. Like, I don't stick to one rule. I just like to put it there, tas check ko if it's nice, edi we'll take that photo. However, if I don't like the way it looks, basta, this is the rule. If you're not satisfied with it, neither will your viewers. So, always check with yourself, like, ay, parang this is okay lang. Don't post it na if it's okay lang. You have to really be proud of what you made, and that's how you'll know that other people will like it too.
Miss Jana, is it okay to use a green cloth or chroma better than white foam board?
No, kasi that will cast a green shadow. And the main reason na gumagamit ka ng white foam board is para ma-lessen yung harshness ng shadows, ma-equalize yung lighting. So, hindi mo pwede gamitan ng chroma. Unless siguro yung sinushoot mo puro green, na kailangan mo to fill it with green or something. But I've never done that, and I always stick to white or black lang.
How do you usually make your images sharp on social media? Because usually social media blurs or pixelates the images, but yours are
Correct.
very sharp.
Okay, it's either you can sharpen it right before you post it. Sa Instagram, di ba, merong editor doon. It's actually okay to use that. Sometimes if I see it na it's about to be posted and it's not like um sharp, I'll add a bit of sharpness through the through the Instagram editor. And sometimes I optimize it when I'm using Photoshop. Meron an option, it's called Save for Web. Since your photos will be displayed on the web, you're going to have to optimize it for that. And meron siyang optimization number for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you're gonna post it. You can just research the number you have to enter there. So width and height of the photo, and that's how you optimize it for the web.
Okay. Usually, it's pricing again. Do you usually price per photo or sometimes I take unlimited shots, but ako pa rin namimili? Or is it per hour, per time, or per the whole shoot? Or just per result? Paano po ang
Um,
sistema sa pagkuha ng shots?
okay, just a quick tip. Para hindi ka mapagod, para hindi ka malugi, price it per photo or per layout. Per layout, meaning sa akin personally is yung inayos kong styling, one layout yan. Pag gusto ni client, ibahin yung backdrop, ibahin yung props, that's another layout. So you price it per setup na inayos mo because you exerted your effort for that. So you need to price it correctly and ganon. Some people they price per hour pag yung mga e-commerce shots like white background lang, like malinis lang. That's okay. But for other circumstances, do the per layout or the per photo setup. That's what I recommend for you.
Hi, Jana. Any recommendations for shooting clear objects like wine glasses, such as that?
If you're going to use it for e-commerce, kailangan mo ng lights because you're going to need to put the reflections na tama dun sa mga wine glass and everything. If you're going to do naman an artistic approach, it's also nice to shoot it outdoors pag super lakas yung sunlight because as I said earlier dun sa video, di ba tong mga glass, when light hits it, it refracts. So it has that like aesthetic effect na magkakaroon siya ng, like a refraction. And usually I see this in mga Parisian types of photos or yung mga blogger type. It's called refraction.
Is it better to be a freelance artist than being being in a long-term contract with a certain business?
Depends on your like scenario eh. Ako naman, I really don't like working for other people and I kind of like working as my own boss. But if you want to try it out naman to gain experience, you should, at least for a year or so, so you'll know what you'll be doing when you start going freelance, para you just don't dive in. But for me, it's more sustainable to go freelance since everything you earn is going to go to you and you can charge your price as well.
Do you price lower or different depending on the brand, if it's a smaller brand or a bigger brand?
Yes, I also adjust my price point. Sometimes that's why you're supposed to do research on your clients. If they inquire, you check their website, you check their social media, or you do a background check on them. And I know this is like extra work, pero in the end, you'll know it also. Eh. And also, you should price according to where they will be using the photos. Kunwari, binigay mo 500 lang. Tapos, the next day you saw, pinrint nila sa menu, pinrint nila sa flyers, pinrint nila sa billboard. Eh, syempre, hindi yan fair to you. So, you also have to ask, like, saan po ba gagamitin? Will you be printing it? Is it just for social media, strictly for website lang po ba? Like, stuff like that. You have to clear it up with your client.
Okay. Can we? Sorry. What is the best platform for portfolios? And how do you present your portfolios? I mean, do you have a, like, where do you present your portfolios? Instagram, social media, or anywhere else?
I just have my Instagram, which is my online portfolio. I have one for food and I have one for product, which I separated para it's more uniform looking. And sometimes when clients ask me for more photos, I give them a Google Drive folder. However, it's more effective if you have your own website. And right now, I'm working on my website through Adobe Portfolio.
Okay. Is it better online rather than hard copy?
Yes. I haven't encountered anyone who asked me for a hard copy of my portfolio. I guess it's just because everything is a bit more modernized now. However, if you do want to have a hard copy, it's okay also. You can submit that to your client. But mostly it's everything's just online right now.
What about shooting for clothing?
If it's for e-commerce, it has to be clean and all the details have to be seen. So shoot mo lang on white and then your light has to be from the top. So everything in the clothes, all the details will be seen. And I recommend to shoot this at f11 or f16 para everything is sharp and in focus. And but for like Instagram or mga flat lay shots or model shots, of course, you need good lighting as well. And just have to make sure that the focus is on the clothing kahit may model na dyan. Syempre, dapat mas focus tayo sa clothes because that's what the brand is selling.
For lipsticks or products with color like makeup, how do you swatch it? How do you capture the swatches properly? Because it somehow changes when you shoot it.
Okay, so you can still shoot this with your phone, but you have to buy those phone lenses, yung kinakabit sa camera. It's a macro lens, and if you're using a camera, you have to invest in a macro lens. If you don't have a macro lens, maybe you can buy an extension tube to make your focal length a bit closer para your details will be captured. And of course, an important part of this is how you actually wipe your swatch on your surface and your light direction.
What if it's a moving subject?
If it's a moving subject, you have to tweak your camera settings. Tapos, there's like, ano bang tawag doon? Of course, if you have autofocus, you want to put it on autofocus. And then there's the servo modes. You have to press those settings just to make sure that you're doing the right ones, especially if your subject is moving. And there's also this thing called panning, where if you're going to take a photo of a bike and it's moving, you have to follow it like that. It's all on YouTube and pretty basic once you practice it and learn it.
This is a very hard question, Jana. I'm a newbie
Hello.
product photographer, but I am colorblind. Kaya medyo hirap ako sa editing ng colors. Any advice so I can overcome cases like this? My case.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so if you're colorblind, if you can see some colors naman, siguro it will be useful if you have a list kung saan siya like malapit. Like kunwari if you can see purple, maybe you can write it down na or ask someone like anong color ba to? Basically whatever is similar to each other, you have to stick between those color schemes and maybe before you start shooting, alamin mo na talaga like what are the colors of this para you can take that into account when you're editing. Since sa Photoshop may labels naman, you can adjust those labels accordingly. So yeah, I haven't encountered anyone like this, but wow, like good luck to you. And I really hope that like you find a way that will be effective for editing.
How do you know if sobra-sobra na yung edit ng photos?
Sobra. Actually, may mata ako for that eh. Like, if it looks fake na, that's never a good thing, of course. Especially if you're shooting people. Pag nakita mo, parang the skin is so overly smoothened or overly... Basta if it doesn't look okay na, maybe you overdid it. But if you don't have an eye for it, what helps is you ask someone, like, Oy, honest opinion, okay lang ba to? Like, is my photo too much? I won't be offended. And that's how I usually do it because sometimes we're blind to our own work. And sobrang gandang-ganda na tayo. Tapos we don't realize it's over the top pala. So just ask for someone's honest opinion.
There are a lot of food questions here on photography, on food. Can I just plug? Next week, we will also be having another free workshop on food styling for photography. But Jana, maybe you have a basic tip for all the food questions here. Like tips on shooting food sensitive to heat, or how about the look? Where else? Yeah, basically, is it natural light okay for food? What settings? How about the reflections on food? How to shoot meat? Yan, basic tip for them.
Okay, so for perishable food, meaning yung natutunaw, nabubulok, and stuff like that, well, I did shoot meat one time. Tapos it was melting while I was shooting it. Ang maging helpful dyan is you have an assistant to help you out. You have a lot of tissue papers on the side because the meat tends to bleed, diba? So you have to wipe it every once in a while. You take the shot and have a freezer nearby. So when it starts melting and you're still checking out the other shot, put it back muna sa freezer. And this is what I did lang. And for ice cream, if you're shooting in their factory, edi, you can request to shoot in a cold area or just really have the freezer there. Basically, just shoot as quick as you can while still considering your quality. And for the lighting, actually maganda ang natural light sa food. So even just natural light should be enough. But if you have a strobe, then by all means go ahead and use your strobe.
Who to?
Mentor. um,
Sir
actually,
Brian.
wala. si Sir Brian. I studied photography back in college, so I have had a lot of mentors there, yung mga professors ko. And outside of that, I wouldn't consider anyone as my full mentor because I didn't stay long enough with a certain photographer to be considered as their mentor. Mostly from school talaga.
What about shooting product photography with humans, with models?
Okay, so that's what I said earlier. If you're shooting for a fashion designer, syempre gusto ni fashion designer kita yung details of the dress, of the shirt. So you have to focus it on that. You can't focus like sa face ni model tapos everything else ang gulo-gulo na. And yung lighting mo, it can't be too bright kasi mawawala all the details of the clothes and you're in this shoot, you're extra lang yung tao. So you have to focus pa rin on the product. And with shoes naman, same as well. Syempre, your model still has to look good, but you still have to focus on the product itself. Some people tend to get carried away with the skin retouching and everything like that. And for me, you shouldn't focus on that if magsushoot ka for products. Gandahan mo rin yung tao, but focus more on the product detail.
So actually, we're almost wrapping up, but so we will choose a few more questions. And
Okay.
there are actually questions here if you can reach Jana on social media to critique on photos and to ask her, can they reach
Yeah.
out to your social media?
You can message me on Instagram or on Facebook. I'll try my best to answer. Usually naman, I always do.
And so for those who have more questions, actually, you can reach out to Jana. We will show her accounts later. And wait lang, there's still so many questions. Actually, I can send these to Jan as well. She will try to answer these. But here, this is a good question. I actually also have a problem with this. Since most images are viewed on mobile devices, and usually they are all different. Diba? Different yung colors from iPhone, different color from the computer, from Android. How do you ensure that there will be no color shifts across devices, or the consistency pa rin?
Actually, that's a big problem kasi, okay, yung computer mo, it's probably optimized, it's probably like calibrated and everything, but once you transfer it to your phone, parang, why does this look darker? Ganon. Usually I send it to my friends who are different users ng mga Android or iPhone. Chine-check ko. And if they say, oh, maganda naman, it looks okay, and the color's fine, I ask them to send me a screenshot of the photo, and you'll see how their phone sees it. So, kung maayos naman yon and konti na lang yung difference, you should be fine. For Instagram, you can use the editor on Instagram also to do minor changes because the preview there, that's how it's gonna look when it's uploaded.
Okay. So let's choose a last question. I'm sorry if you have more questions. You can, as Jana mentioned, you can ask her in her social media. Then for all the food questions, I also recommend we have a food styling for photography. I will put the details after this, after Jana's talk. Wait, there's so much. I hope can you have a vlog soon doing all of these to teach us. Question. I'll patronize it for sure. Thank you for sharing your knowledge in product photography. Will you start a vlog? Or actually, she has lots of TikTok tutorials. If you go to her TikTok, if you have TikTok, she has lots of product photography tutorials there. And if you also have questions, you can go to her social media. She also posts there. Do you still have any last messages for all the participants here?
For the vlog, I'll try to I have a YouTube channel actually, but I'll try to upload more content. And if ever, post ko na lang sa Instagram ko or Facebook page. And for the short videos, which I actually do now, you can check them out on my TikTok. And if you have more questions, just message me on Instagram or Facebook. I will try my best to answer them. And thank you guys so much for being so active and participative.
Yeah, we still have so many questions. Baka
Yes.
we will take tomorrow if we answer all of these. But we appreciate everything. You can message Jana. She's very friendly and ano. But once again, thank you so much, Jana. But before we say goodbye to you, I will just show this. Yan. For those who are really interested in food photography and food styling, we will have another seminar next week, well, September 25, on food styling for photography. So if your products are food, or if you want to learn more about food styling for photography, you may want to go to this seminar. It's also free. It's just like Map Talks episode 9, right? And then we also have, for those who are multimedia artists here, graphic design for games or logo design for esports, and tax and accounting for freelancers. I know there are a lot of freelancers here. This is going to be very useful for you, especially if you have no idea on how to start a business. Okay, so back to Jana. Thank you once again, Jana, for gracing us with your time, with your... please give her a warm, round of applause wherever you are. Thank you. This is very informative. So if you guys want to know more... Wait, I hid myself. How do I unhide myself?
Thank you guys so much.
And if you want to know more, for those who were asking, so this is also part of the questions, you can go to our pages at MAP Official. So we will update you on the upcoming seminars. So this seminar is made by Multimedia Arts Association of the Philippines in partner with Digital Guru. So you can also follow at Digital Guru. He will also update you on our future seminars. So thank you once again, Jana, for this talk, Product Photography Fit for Your Brand and Identity. And we enjoyed it so much. We learned
Thank
so
you.
much, and thank you once again.
Thank you guys so much.
So if you guys have any more questions for Jana, you can follow her at these websites, at Jana Francisco Photography, or what's your TikTok at JNAF?
JNAFRN.
At JNAFRN. So thank you once again, everyone. This has been MAAP Talks '08 Product Photography Fit for your brand identity. And thank you, Jana, once again. We
Thank you
hope to
so
see
much,
you again
Hannah.
all in our future seminars. So there will be a lot more. Watch out for that. And again, thank you, Jana. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you guys.